And as a result of that, that actually got the attention of legislators and policymakers. And so what I have here is crime victims' rights. And I think it is important for everyone to know that, as opposed to getting into the system and then you know about your rights. I think sometimes it is advantageous for us to be a bit proactive in that approach. So as far as my goal here is to give you the background, but also just to let you know what our mission is. It is to reduce the trauma of a crime by empowering and assisting crime victims, as well as witnesses and significant others, in rebuilding their lives through advocacy, support, information, and referrals. And when we're talking about advocacy, it's the crisis intervention. And it's also the part of understanding what their needs are. Recently, we had a homicide in Caroline County, and the sheriff's office referred the individuals to victim witness because of having financial hardships. And we were able to assist them as far as filling out necessary paperwork as far as to criminal injuries compensation fund, to be able to assist them with that need, which is often which was a hardship for them. And so when we're talking about criminal injuries compensation fund, it is a fund, and it is a fund that's allocated by offenders, their fines. And as far as the support is oftentimes the court accompaniment, the emotional support. Also, the information is just understanding as far as, how to complete paperwork, such as completing a victim impact statement. And that actually happens at it actually happens at the latter part of the criminal justice process. Just understanding, how this event affected you, whether it was emotionally, financially, and you're helping the court to understand the impact of that situation, as well as the information. And the information is the same as what I have here for each one of you to have. And the information, again, it's referrals. Caroline County is a small area, and what we know oftentimes as far as shelters as well as transportation are probably the two most challenging things that we have here. So it is actually connecting these individuals to referrals. Just wanted to share with you, we had two incidents that actually kind of I wanted to talk about. One is we had a young lady, 90 years young, who was a victim of crime. And what happened, her home was broken into, she had no security system, her door was broke, as well as windows. So we were able to assist her as far as having her complete the necessary paperwork. And of course, we assisted her with completing the paperwork, but all of her finances were taken care of. So basically, it's about making the victim whole. I don't know if any one of you have been a victim of crime, but it's a place that no one wants to be. And when you have multidisciplinary teams, you have a sheriff office, you have a Commonwealth Attorney Office working together to make sure that people who actually elected you in office are able to be whole, and knowing that there are organizations out here. And I guess the question may be to you all, well, why should I care? You should care because you're talking about each one of you have constituents. You are elected officials. And so when someone comes to you to say that, hey, I was a victim of crime, I don't know what to do, I have no money, the resources are very limited, so what do I do? You can tell them, hey, you can call SC Newby Howard, or you can call Victim Witness. And even though I may not be able to tell them at that moment what to do, I can certainly do some research and be able to get back with them with some detailed information to assist them in such a dire time in their lives. Also, just wanted to provide you with just some statistics as far as Victim Witness for 2014. We assisted less than 500 victims. maybe about 458 to be exact. And working with them and working with Criminal Injury Compensation Fund, because we actually have a computer system in which we're able to, certainly help them complete forms, applications, paperwork, and we're able to access the system, upload information, and have timely information to be able to provide them or keep them up to date on what's going on with their case. So as far as 2014, we actually was able to get CICF, or working with them, we had probably about, as far as the total allocation, of about $24,615. And that's only working with a handful of people who are knowledgeable about that program. And so just what my goal is today, again, is to, increase the understanding, to report on what's going on, but also just to let you know, as far as talking about the rights again, I know that I'm going back, but talking about the rights, it is to make sure that people are aware that they can be involved in the court cases. And also as far as employees intervention, and also as far as some of the other complicated process, is just providing them with a simple understanding of the judicial process and helping them to minimize some of the stress and anxiety that often come about when anyone has to encounter the judicial system. So again, it was brief, but again, it's just to kind of help you all to get a better understanding of the program. And so when you're thinking about victim witness or someone talking about it, at least you can put the name and face together, or at least you have a better understanding of what the program entails. You have any questions?
Just a couple of. Ms. Howard, how is your program funded?
The program is funded through the Department of Criminal Justice System, as well as some funds are allocated through Caroline County, the board.
Okay, and what area? What area do you cover?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a specific region or area that you cover? Is it just Caroline County?
It's just Caroline County one, yes. Yeah.
Okay. Other board members have questions?
I had one quick one, if I may, Mr.
It doesn't have to be quick.
No, I like quick. You're part of the Commonwealth Attorney's Office or a totally separate office?
I am in the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, yes.
Okay. In the local Commonwealth Attorney's
That's
Office?
correct.
Okay. So you're funded through the county?
That's partially through the county.
And
yes.
some state grants?
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Did other board members have questions? Thank you very much, Mrs. Howard. We appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Good evening.
Good evening.
That takes us to an update on the 150th anniversary commemoration of the capture of Lincoln's assassin. Ms. Beard.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and senior staff. Thank you for the opportunity to be here very quickly this evening. I guess the biggest thing is that we are quickly approaching these major events for Caroline County. And it's interesting to note that we would not have gotten this far at all if we didn't have the support of the Sheriff's Office, your fire and rescue team, Public Works, Planning, Finance, and all the other departments that make this kind of an engine go. And we, again, appreciate all that work that's been going on since the middle of 2014. Tuesday is Garden Day, and that's pretty exciting for all of us. It will be taking place along Route 17 in the county and then turning left and heading into Port Royal. The Garden Club of the Fredericksburg area, the Rappahannock Garden Club, is anticipating between 1,300 and 1,500 tickets sold for that event. Lots of traffic on 17, lots of lunches purchased in Port Royal. So a very, very big day, not only for the homeowners who have graciously agreed to open these very historic homes to the public, but also, again, for the businesses along the way that will capitalize on this revenue. And then actually today begins the 150th anniversary in about 3 hours, or a little after 10 o'clock this evening. President Lincoln was actually shot at the Ford Theater. And that starts the horrific manhunt, the largest one in the country's history at that particular point, as Booth came south and tried to escape. April 24th, the week from this coming Friday, we have the History Mobile open at the Visitor Center. We have 14 classes of fourth graders from the entire Caroline County school system coming to the Visitor Center, and they will be greeted by President Lincoln and his First Lady, Mary Todd. Our reenactors that are coming in for the weekend have agreed to come in early, and so they will be in the Visitor Center to welcome the students as they then go and tour the History Mobile. If you're around and would like to come, we're going to be hosting a little lunch for all those folks working that event, so please stop on by the Visitor Center that day. As we roll into the evening, John Hennessy will be there, and John Hennessy, as you all know, is the historian from the National Park Service, will be giving us not so much a history of the Civil War, but what was really going on, because remember, the Civil War ended last week, and now he's really going to be talking about what was really going on in this particular area at that particular time. So from there, it's bus tours the next day. It's Dr. Terry Alford debuting his brand new book, Fortune's Fool, that evening at the Visitor Center. And then by Sunday, we are into the Lunch with Lincoln event, which will take place at the Bowling Green Event Hall. There's something symmetrical in our department about this particular event, because we all know that actually that Sunday, the 26th of April, 150 years ago, Lincoln was the assassin was actually dying at the Garrett farm site. And now by having Lincoln just a few blocks from the former Star Hotel site where the whole capture sequence began in Bowling Green is again very exciting for us. So we're looking forward to that whole weekend, and we have provided you with the information, our mailing packet of what's going on in the event, as well as the visitor guide. 10,000 visitor guides were printed this year and distributed all up and down the state to showcase the county and what we're expecting to take place this weekend. But I guess if I wanted to just pull back the curtains a little bit and let you know that there is certainly a lot of connection between what we're doing with this project and how we're connecting to the local business base. We're certainly showcasing the town of Port Royal and the town of Bowling Green and all those opportunities and things that are going on there, from American history museums to portrait galleries and schools and all types of things in Port Royal, as well as walking tours to the Star Hotel site, the courthouse area, what's going on with shopping, and then the Sidney E. King's Art Center will be there as well. But there are local businesses. Rare Sky Studio designed our work for us. Cajo's and Catering for You are providing all the meals for the 3-day event. Wayne Brooks, our local historian and president of the Caroline Historical Society, is leading the narrated bus tour. So that Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, the bus leaves here and heads to King George, and we then actually trace the route that Booth used from coming across there at Dahlgren, ending up at Claydale, coming to, we'll actually stop at Belgrove Plantation, on into Port Royal, to the Garrett farm site, back to Port Royal, and then into Bowling Green. So we will cover the entire county with that bus on Saturday. English Acres is involved with helping us with landscaping, our local hotels providing us accommodations. The UPS print store in Ladysmith did the actual print work for us. So again, we're very, very pleased with the way that the community has responded, to this. As well as the Rusty Beaver Brewery will be on site both Friday night and Saturday night at the Visitor Center to showcase their particular items as well. But one of the really interesting and cool things about this whole weekend, we have in the audience, ladies and gentlemen, the Sassafras Shade Winery Vintners. And if I could get them to stand up for Ann and Gary Dudley. We are very excited about Sassafras Shade Winery and wanted you to know that they are winners at Finger Lakes, New York International Wine Festival. So right out of the gate, our winery here in Caroline County is taking awards, and we are very excited for them. I've provided you with copies of their labels that they have gotten approved. They started working on this project with us months ago, seems like years, but anyway, months ago, to get these wine labels approved and be able to bottle this wine from Caroline County with this commemorative label. So we're very, very excited about that. And with that, that ends my comments, and I'm hoping that if we have any questions, I can answer them, or that the Vidal wine, a white wine, that has won the big honor out of the Finger Lakes International Wine Festival.
Yeah, I think Mr. Seeley has a question for you, Ms. Beard.
Certainly.
I do like the book, and I'm glad to see it was a mailer. Just one thing we need to fix in the future is the Star Hotel didn't burn down in 1905. It was actually taken down in 1938.
38.
And the foundation is underneath the DeJohnette and
The
Beale building, but it didn't burn. It was taken down in
Okay.
1938, because it was the doctor's office until then.
We will double-check our sources. Thank you for that correction. We will fix that on our website, too. And we understand that the actual bricks from the Star Hotel are still in the DeJohnette and Beale building.
They are actually in the foundation. The actual basement is still there.
Okay, great, thank you.
Other board members have questions or comments? If not, thank you very much, Ms. Beard.
Okay.
We appreciate your participation.
Thank you.
Good luck this weekend. We hope you have much success, and I'm sure
Appreciate it
you
again.
will.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us to appointments, the Recreation Advisory Committee.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
could I wonder how successful and how involved this committee is. And I say that because I'm not sure that we have, as a board, has done a good job in vetting the appointments that we make to this committee. And I think it is important because these people do have the possibility of interacting with youth and young people, and I think it's important that they be vetted extremely well. I think this board knows that one of the members that is now serving on this committee is being charged, is under house arrest or whatever they call it, yes. And so I just have a concern with us just making appointments on a fly, if you will, and without any thought about who we appoint to this committee, number one. But number two, I really wonder how effective this committee is in working with the recreation.
I guess other board members have comments.
Mr. Chairman, I will, I guess, echo a little bit of what Mr. Akers said in the sense that as far as the committee is concerned, I know that previous appointment of mine voiced to me frustrations as far as the effectiveness of the committee. So I think we need to.
He
Yeah.
said they did nothing. And
Yeah.
it was.
So I think that's something that we may need to, I guess, look at.
I think what we could probably do is look at the committee and at least talk with the appointees that we have on there. And those that, because, my appointee is very effective and I think does a good job. But it just all depends on who they are. So maybe what we should do is to look at those that are on there and determine whether or not we want to leave them on there and make new appointments or whatever, but it's not something obviously that we can do tonight. So,
I think we need to determine whether it's a need for the recreation committee, to be honest with you.
Right.
well, I guess my thing was,
Mr. Cully had a.
I'm sorry, okay, Mr. Keller.
Approximately a year ago, when Mr. Black's member had made some statements about the ineffectiveness of the committee and ultimately resigned, I tried to pull a meeting together with the remaining members of the committee to see if we could establish more of an organizational format, but I only got 2 of them to show up. And so in that time, I brought it back to y'all to see if we could get a full committee of people that were really interested and try to set up some structure where they had a chairman and they took some minutes and they tried to do some things. But we haven't had a full committee meeting probably in more than a year, and we're still down, I think, a member or so.
Yeah,
and
my
it's yours.
appointment
And now
said I don't want to serve on it. I don't do anything. I don't want to serve on it.
Right, and now all of them are up. So we just put this on, they all expire, I think, in June, and so we just were giving you plenty of heads up that, you know, we're going to have a lot of vacancies, but I agree with you. They've either got to decide, I think in the past they've come up with some ideas, but it takes funding to be able to, and so I think some of that's the pushback. Well, that's a good idea, but we don't have the funds necessary to put that program in place. So I think they have to come on with an understanding, you know, we'd like to have some guidance from Parks and Rec, but we can't just come in with a lot of things we want to do that take money that we don't have. And I think that's sort of been the discouraging part to some of them as they've been involved, is they may have come up with an idea, we want to run this, that, or the other, and then we're told by Parks and Rec, we don't have the funds to necessarily start that particular program. So I think that might be some of the underlying, you know, people, they lose interest because of that.
So I guess the real question then is purpose.
Well,
If
you know,
in fact we put together some expectations and purpose, then we can talk to persons who would be interested in fostering that mission. But it seems to me, just from talking to my representative as well, there's a lack of understanding as to where we're going and how we should get there. So as a result, it constantly gets pushed back, and now it's something that's not very important. So I think we have to place importance upon the role that we ask them to play and give them a forum by which they can be heard, and then I think the Recreation Committee should stay in place. But again, I think we need to do a better job of determining and setting expectations and standards so it won't come to where a person is not here for, or doesn't attend the meeting for a year, and then we come to this juncture. We can get there prior to this and say, maybe you're not the person, and we make that call.
and I think, I guess the other thing in addition to that is when the program, as I understand, was first set up, it was supposed to be input, a way for the community to have input in the recreational program. And they were supposed to work in conjunction with the recreation director and that whole department. They were supposed to come together to talk about maybe recreation needs and ways that they could try to address some of those issues. And again, obviously that's not happening. So I think the first thing we need to do is, as you said, Mr. Underwood, look at the purpose. I mean, if it's no need for the program, there's no point in just having programs just to be having them. Maybe we've progressed to the point that we don't need this anymore. And if that is the case, then maybe they just need to disband. But if they do need it, you know, and I would think that working with the recreation director and finding out what his take is on this committee, and is this committee helpful to their program? It's all about recreation is what it was.
But maybe we could even have a smaller committee of committed people. I know we wanted to have a representative from each district, but maybe we could have a smaller committee committed to recreation to work and investigate ideas on the behalf of the committee, rather than, you know, having to appoint a person because they say they would like to be on the committee, then not show. I'd rather have 3 people speaking for the committee than none. Or having good people become frustrated because the other folks aren't shown. There's no quorum, therefore you can't have a meeting. So I think we should consider that, look at what we want to do here and what guidance we want to give, and then make some decisions about the Recreation Committee.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
The only thing I'd like to say is, I mean, we did, I think, commit up to 50,000 a couple meetings ago in regards to parks, and I would think that would be something that they might want to have some input on, a committee like this, because they might, you know, since we're going to be upgrading some of the parks, they might have some say in that.
And I think that would certainly be an area to consider. And again, I guess Mr. Howard, being Recreation Director, I think would be the one to work along with this committee, and certainly with input from the board as well. But, you know, since Mr. Howard is the Director of Recreation, I would think that he would be the one to make, you know, the decision as far as, you know, how many maybe he thinks would be good, and what their particular purpose is going to be.
But now, another thing, Mr. Chairman, that if you look at the list, the 2 student representatives are vacant.
Right.
And a lot of the programs we do are youth-oriented.
Right.
And then some of the other programs are senior-oriented. So maybe we're approaching this from the board appoints people to be on this committee, and maybe we should ask Mr. Howard to have some people who actually participate in programs to be in the committee. And then again, express our request to the schools to have them have somebody on the committee, students.
And maybe if I could ask Mr. Keller to contact Mr. Howard and work with him with maybe the development or the layout of the committee and just what he thinks, and maybe we could just hold up until we get a report, and then we could go on after that. Okay. Then that takes us to, I'm sorry.
The money that Mr. Black was speaking about, did we appropriate $50,000 additional? Because I know we talked about money going to the park at Ladysmith School. Is that what you're speaking of? Okay.
You may want to turn your mic on.
I'm just saying that they may want to be involved in that, what happens with that improvement on those parks. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. All right. That takes us to the consent agenda. Items A, B, C, and D. Item E has been pulled. Is there anyone who have a concern about any of the items listed on the consent agenda, A through D?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to pull D.
Okay. All right, can we get an approval for items A, B, and C on the consent agenda?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
So moved and properly second that we approve items A, B, and C as presented on the consent agenda. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Mr. Akers, you have a concern about D?
Well, I just want us to understand the importance of sometime of things that we do, because as we know, Newland has withdrawn their application for rezoning and for amendments to the proffers. And if this board will recall, what that amendment would have done would have improved basically what this county was receiving, because they had, under their new agreement, under their new proffer, they had said they would give the county a 10-acre parcel for a park. They would give the county $500,000 to improve this park. And in the original proffers that they made in 2002, I think is the date that it was approved, they had proffered $490,000, so much per home, for every home they built, but up to $490,000 to improve the park. And what they said was, you keep that $490,000 and use it however you want to use it, and we'll give you $500,000. It also gave us an opportunity to improve the material standards as well as the design standards in South River development, which is now part of Ladysmith development. It also allowed us to more or less control the number of townhomes that could be built in any one community. And what we have done is we have lost those opportunities because they've said they're withdrawing their application, and they'll keep the proffers as they are. So we've lost $490,000 that would have gone to us for other causes, and we've lost the opportunity to improve on proffers for the South River development, which I think is, I think it's sad for us, and I just hope that at some point they'll come back and allow us to try to correct some errors that were made in 2002.
Well, what caused them to withdraw? I mean,
Yeah, we didn't.
What
We
caused
just asked them to
We asked
have a
questions.
public hearing.
No, we didn't ask questions, we demanded things. We said, we're not going to do it. They agreed to do a lot of things. They agreed, everything we asked them to do, they agreed. The last thing that we asked them to do had to do with the park. And we said, the park has to be built within 7 years, or the money has to be given to the county in 7 years. And they said they couldn't live with that. They could not live with the 7-year period. And
But they still have proffers.
Right.
They have proffer money that's going to eventually build the park.
they have absolutely, over the
So
course
really
of the
what that
years.
means is, we can't use any of that proffer money for anything else.
That is correct.
We have to save that proffer money for the park.
But they were going to give us $500,000.
No, they were going to
No,
not
no,
charge us.
No, they were going to give us $500,000 to improve the park.
I
And
think
they
I
were allowed
recall Mr. Fincham saying there was no new money in this.
Mr. Fincham, you said there was no new money in this?
Yes, sir. In my summary, I stated they were going to allow us to keep the $490,000. And in addition, they would make the park improvements up to $500,000.
And that's additional money, is it not?
Well,
Mr. Fincham.
I mean, you did say no additional money. I mean, no new money, right? So instead of us paying them $500,000,
We got to keep that money.
Right.
But they also did proffer an additional $500,000 for park improvements that would come out of their pocket. But it was not until the 1,200th, 1,300th unit.
1350.
1,200 homes.
Yes,
They
that
approved
was
1,200.
that was after 1,200 homes, correct?
That's correct.
Yes, it was somewhere back 12 to 1350,
And I-
somewhere in
and I-
there.
And I think if we're going to be honest with ourselves, two of us met with Newland, and in which they said that that money would be conveyed immediately, as soon as the proffers were changed. Then we got the actual proffers, and we saw 1,200 homes. So let's call a spade here. If we're really going to convey the money, and you say in a meeting to people in which county staff is there, that we're going to convey the money immediately, and then you change it to 1,200 homes when we've got 40 homes a year going in there, well, that's not what you said originally. So you've changed it. That was the problem.
But if they'd have proffered it, they couldn't change it. Whatever they proffered was written in stone, and it could not be changed. That's the reason they have to
They
come back
changed
to the board.
they changed it that night. They were willing to go 100 down that night. So how are they going to be able to change the proffer that night?
Because the proffers hadn't been approved by the board. Once the
Well, see,
proffers
that's-
are approved by the board.
But that was the only
and
reason
that's
we
it.
wanted to have a public hearing, was to hear officially what the proffers were, because we couldn't change any proffers. While they were here discussing it with us last month, we couldn't change any proffers.
The discussion was,
Well,
we lost, the facts are, and we can play it any way we want to, the facts are, we lost $500,000 for the park, we lost the $490,000 that could have been used for something else. It is what it is, no other way of
No, that's not what it
painting the
is.
brush.
The real fact is, if they'd have showed up and done the public hearing, we might have got what you wanted. I mean, you're the one that met with them. I don't know why you let them not come today.
Mr. Black and I met with them. Don't just say I, Mr. Black and I met
Well,
with
I
them.
mean, okay, but you did meet with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, that's what I
Absolutely.
said.
Okay, that takes us to the approval of consent agenda item D, which is just the acceptance of the withdrawal for the rezoning.
You not want to accept their withdrawal and let them come back? Mr. Akers?
What?
In meeting with Newland, do you not want to accept their withdrawal and give them another chance to come back in May?
They have indicated they're not interested at this point.
So we need to accept the withdrawal.
I make a motion, we accept the withdrawal.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and properly second that we accept the withdrawal. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Okay. All right, we need a break, so we'll take a 10-minute break and come back at 7:40. Board members ready? We will resume the April 14th, 2015 Caroline County Board of Supervisors meeting. It takes us to the public comment section of our agenda. At this time, we will open the board meeting up for public comment. Any citizen who has an issue or a concern that's not listed on the agenda, you may come forward at this time and speak your concern.
Without having to sign up.
George Spalding, Bowling Green District. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Thank you, Coach Ball.
I'm here for a couple of reasons tonight. Number one, of course, is money, like everyone else, and that's, I know that's a sore topic, and we've been discussing this now for how many months, so on and all. And I have my two cohorts with me, Dr. Broadus and Nancy Carson, and they'll be filling in. We'll be doing this by a tandem, so to speak. So if you have any questions on anything, just yell out. If I can't give you the answer, one of the two ladies can, okay? First of all, we had our 2-on-2 meeting. I don't know if Mr. Taylor told you about them the other night, so forth and all. A couple of things we decided to do, and they were asked about the building project and so forth and all. And I told him, I said, we would come once a month at the beginning of each meeting to get you guys caught up, give abreast of what's going on as far as the building situation is going. And if you have any questions or so forth on that, we'll be able to answer it then. If I can't do it, Jeffrey or Randy or one of the three of us will be here to get you caught up on that. So anyway, the original money that we talked about earlier was $500,000, and of course the last we heard was $300,000 and so forth. And that $300,000, gentlemen, we can't do a whole lot with that. We're lucky to pay our bills, so to speak. And we wanted to give all of our employees some type of a raise, and with the $500,000 we could do it, but with $300,000 we can't do it. And especially the folks that are on the lower end of the salary scale. The teachers, we've taken pretty good care of them for the last umpteen years, but our classified employees, we haven't. And this is the thing that concerns us most. Questions?
What we could do is just go ahead and let you make your presentation. We'll see if there are other people who want to speak for the public hearing.
Oh, okay.
Then we'll close it, and I'll allow board members to
Okay.
ask questions concerning the budget at that
All right.
time.
Now, you may be wondering about the fuel situation, money we saved on the fuel situation. Probably, yes, for that right now, but we found out that our ADM is not as high as we thought it was going to be, so that's going to be a couple $100,000 right there that's going to hurt us, that things are going to have to try to balance out on that. And, you know, you can't, it's like we've talked before on that ADM, you can't pad the books at the beginning, and then at the end of the year, you come up short. That's money you've got to pay back to the state. If you don't have it, it's tough luck. But anyway, if you're thinking about, we have savings on some of that, yes. But the ADM is going to really hurt us.
Thank you, Mr. Spoiler. Other persons?
Good evening. Nancy Carson from the Mattaponi District. I'm going to touch base a little bit about the fuel. I know we have some savings. I do not know the exact amount, and that we were able this year to stay within budget because of the lower cost. But in the past years, we have been way over what we had budgeted, and so it was taken out of other parts of what was allocated for the buses. So that's part of the transportation. Our ADM is down roughly 40 children this year over what we had projected, so that is roughly, fuzzy math, Mr. Thomas, $200,000 that we will be short of. I also wanted to say that we will begin, we came out of closed session last night, and you all were not there, and we will begin interviews for the superintendent beginning April 18th and roughly go through May 2nd. About 3 weeks of interviews. And if there's something we can do to work with you all, we would love to, so that we would be able to either give the raises to the employees, everyone, or we can take it back if you would work with us, so maybe we can address the whole step process instead of just giving a raise. That is also something that we can talk about, but right now, we would really like for you all to work with us and not be an unharmonious relationship. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other persons who would like to speak on public comment or during the public comment period? Are there other persons who would like to speak during the public comment period? One last call. Are there other persons who would like to speak during the public comment period? Seeing no one with the desire to speak, I will declare the public comment section of the meeting closed. This is probably going to be a little different if the board indulges me. There are some questions that board members had regarding the school board's request. And so I would now allow board members to ask questions. And if you all would not mind coming up, if they have questions that you can't answer, or if there are issues that you can address, if you would not mind, Mr. Spaulding and Ms. Carson. And Dr. Beal as well. Okay, Mr. Thomas.
I'm ready. Chairman Spaulding and Vice Chairman Carson, well, first of all, I'll take a step back and explain to the rest of the folks who understand that you could speak without signing up. You allowed me to speak at the school board meeting yesterday. I was unaware that you had to sign up, so that was our joke, and I do appreciate you allowing me to do that. But we had asked during our budget work session, we had asked Dr. Broadus about how much money you actually needed. And we found out that you had about 100 and roughly, fuzzy math, I just want to be in the ballpark. You had about 150 from the state you could use for raises, or 160, I think it was 100, close to 160. You got a different number than Mr.
We're using
Cullen.
142, and you all are using 160.
Right.
Okay.
And we were giving you 330, so fuzzy math again, we were close to 500. The discussion was the additional 200, and Dr. Broadus said that would cover teachers and support staff, not necessarily administrators. And she didn't want to speak for the board, and I guess, what is your opinion? Is that what you're looking for with the 700,000, or do you want something different?
Well, if you'd like to give us some more, of course, we wouldn't turn that down.
I would love to give you more. I don't know if I have the ability to do that, but.
Well, I didn't think so. I'll let you speak.
I mean, I think the question, and what we talked about earlier, was do we want to focus, there was the question about focusing on the teacher salary scale and trying to fix that, or whether it was to give 2.5% to teachers and support staff. The 700,000 would either give, we could do the, fix the salary scale, but it's not going to be equal for everybody.
But you wouldn't be doing anything for support staff if you
Support
fix the
staff
salary
would
scale.
still get,
Oh, they're in the salary
yeah,
scale?
they would
Okay,
still be in,
okay,
the amounts are pretty much equal.
Okay.
But the administrators would not receive anything within that 700,000. It would not do that. But it would do one or the other for teachers. It's either the 2.5% for everybody, or we could implement the beginning of fixing the salary scale.
Okay, and I think the question, that was more their question. You know, mine was 700,000 would cover teachers and support staff, not necessarily administrators. Yes. If we could do that, would that work? Because if you make $30,000 a year, that's a really good raise, but if you're making 70, 80, 90, you're going to make a lot more